just because there's that little bit of bad blood there, that little bit of, you know, we've both got a point to prove. We both think we're the better fighter, and I believe that that's me. So I'd like to put my money where my mouth is and fight him. Welcome back, and today I'm going through the questions that were asked via Instagram. We're going to try and do this as a regular, maybe once a month YouTube video, so that people get to ask their questions and you'll get your live feedback. So I've got a ton of questions that I'm going to go through now as quick as I can. So sorry if we don't get to everyone, because there are quite a few questions. I did say on Instagram that your @ or whatever it is will be on the question, so don't ask nothing rude. Anyway, here we go. I'm going to start with the question number 1. How do you deal with annoying injuries, which was asked by Mohammed ATD. How do I deal with annoying injuries? Now, there's many ways that obviously you can deal with an injury. One is your recovery time. What are you going to do? You know, there's no point in getting an injury, sitting on the sofa and just going, I'll get better once it gets better. As soon as I broke my hand, for example, straight away I looked at what I can do to help it, whether that be in ice, whether that be in potentially massaging it, you know, whatever it is that you can do to speed up that recovery. Best believe I'm doing it, especially when it's my profession. The quicker I can get back in the cage, the quicker I can start earning money. So yeah, the first thing I do with any injury, what's the recovery time? What can you do and what is in your control to getting better? Question number 2. What's the worst injury you've had? So the worst injury that I have had, which was asked by Rayan S1707, is from a motorbike injury. I came off, based my hand out motocross riding, and that forearm there was facing the other way. So it had completely dislocated. I had snapped part of the bone off in the arm as well, whilst in the process. That's probably the worst injury I've had, which compared to other people isn't too bad. So touch wood, you know, I've got a lot of things like broken noses, broken hands, but you know, nothing that's too career ending. You know, a lot of the stuff like brain damage, concussions, they're the things that I worry about most, that can affect your long-term health.
What would you say your worst injury in the cage has been?
My worst injury in the cage, I'd just have to say, is broken nose. You know, that's only because there's not, or broken orbital, sorry. So just in here, luckily in the cage, I've not come out with too much damage. I wouldn't say it's so much an injury, but a concussion. I've had 2 of them before, and they suck. So yeah, if you're counting them as part of an injury, I would say the concussions were worse than anything. Next question by RD45 Life Warrior. If you could train with anyone in the world, past or present, who and why? Now, I'm probably going to jump on the bandwagon, but I would say McGregor.
You're playing touch butt with that dork in the park.
Because I would like to pick his brains about the business side of the sport. So it's not so much maybe train physically with him, but just I'd love to be able to pick his brains. Obviously, he is, you know, a once in a lifetime fighter in this sport. I'd love to kind of dissect and actually work out how he got to where he is now. And then if I was going to say physically train, it would probably be Hamza Chimaev, because he's so dominant in the grappling area. You know, he's come in like no one else ever has, like what he did to Robert Whittaker, for example. How is he so good at what he does? A lot of the things that he does are very basic, but people just can't seem to stop it. So I think I'd like to pick his brains as well and improve my grappling. By Simo, cats or dogs? Dogs, mate. And I have had cats before. I did love them, but dogs always. By Lydia Hake. You can fight anyone, dead or alive. Dream opponent, who would it be? Ooh, dream opponent, I would have to say, if we're talking money, McGregor, because it's the paycheck, you know, it's red panty night.
Conor McGregor made us rich. Break out the red panties.
And if not, I'm gonna say Volkanovski, just because he is the champ, you know, he is the featherweight GOAT. He's the guy that I've got to beat to get the belt, and yeah, you know, that's who I would pick right now. From Cameron Dulac, what was your favourite fight from the UFC career? Personally, you against Andre Fili. Oh, sorry, that's what he's saying. My favourite, now that it's over, because I did get concussion during the fight, was my UFC debut against Johnny Eduardo. because it's my UFC debut. You know, it was the point that I had been training for my whole life, finally getting there and receiving a bonus. You know, I went from having nothing in my bank account to a nice healthy sum. From 08 Trev, who would you like to face for your next fight? If I could pick anyone, it would be Lerone Murphy, just because there's that little bit of bad blood there, that little bit of, you know, we've both got a point to prove, we both think we're the better fighter, and I believe that that's me, so I'd like to put my money where my mouth is and fight him. And if we're being a little bit more realistic, because I know that at the moment he's very high ranked, and I imagine he's going to get a top 5 opponent, I would say Mohamed Naimov, so I can get the revenge back for that dodgy match that we had. Next question from It's AJ. What music do you listen to when in camp? Genre, artist and favourite song? Believe it or not, anything. I can go from listening to 80s diva to rap to Slipknot. It all depends on how I'm feeling in the moment. I do like lifting weights to Slipknot, Linkin Park, you know, quite more heavy metal side of things. But I really don't have a particular favourite. It's just kind of whatever I can be bothered to put on the playlist. From Brad's ANP, if you could choose your next 3 fights based on current ranking, who and why? Ooh, okay, I'm going to say that I would like a top 15 opponent, so whether that be Calvin Kattar or Bryce Mitchell, you know, they're on the lower end of the rankings, both coming off losses, so I mean, you know, it would make more sense for me to call them guys out than someone like Lerone Murphy, who's on a, obviously, tear at the moment in them rankings. Next 3 fights, well, it would all depend how I get past those, but then, you know, I'd be looking at Josh Emmett, Lerone Murphy, someone in the top 10, and try and just work my way to that belt. How many fights away do you feel like you are from fighting a ranked opponent? That's from Jake Tomo. I believe I'm ready now. I still think that the last fight should have been a top 15. I don't really know what I've got to do. That's why in a few of the interviews I said that I'm so over talking about rankings now, because I don't know how they work, but I never seem to get a ranked opponent. But I get paid the same regardless. From Ollie Fawn, do you believe luck is a factor in pro combat sports? Really good question, because I think luck in this sport is 80% of whether someone gets a win or not. I think with a 4-ounce glove and with how good everyone is in the UFC, luck is a huge factor on winning. So obviously the best thing to do is prepare the best and be the best person that you can be going in there. And then I always say you leave it to the MMA gods. You know, if you throw a shot the right second, the right timing, you potentially win the fight, vice versa. You know, look at Jai Herbert versus Ilya Chapora. Jai Herbert was that close from finishing the fight, and Ilya Chapora obviously won, and now look, you know, he's one of the pound for pound best in the world. I personally know a lot of guys that aren't in the UFC, have now retired, and who are super talented, who could be in the UFC. Sometimes luck is just on your side. Someone sees you, you get the right moment, maybe you get the right call up at the right time. So the best thing to do is train the hardest, or whatever you're doing in life, just be the best that you can and show up every time, and opportunities will arise. So yeah, that's my advice. From Rohan, what is the most important skill for your success? The most important skill is patience and consistency. I don't think there's a secret pill or anything that, you know, you need in this sport or in anything really in life. I think it's just consistency and constantly getting up when you get knocked down or when you don't feel like doing it, just going, right, discipline, let's get back and do it. I think consistency always is the key to everyone's success. From Razimus, what temperature do you have your steak? Well done is for cowards. I have it medium rare. From Will Casuals, what would you cook on Come Dine With Me? Ooh, what I would cook on Come Dine With Me, because I wouldn't want to risk messing it up, I would probably do some chicken fajitas and make it like a bit of a do-it-yourself. So we'd have the wraps, we'll have the peppers, the onions, the cheese, lots of cheese, chicken, and just let people just, you know, dabble as they like.
What dessert?
Dessert, ooh. Well, if I'm allowed to order, I'd order a cookie dough from Afters, a Kinder Bueno cookie dough. And if I wasn't and I had to make it, I would probably say a warm chocolate fudge cake or a warm chocolate brownie with a massive dollop of ice cream. Yeah, this is out of count. From Luke Raywood, if you had to reverse a result in one fight in UFC history, what would it be? If it's myself, then I have a name of one. You know, I think that was some next level bullshit. And if it was any other fight in UFC history, I would say Anderson Silva versus Weidman when he got knocked out in the first one. You know, that was just gutting to see. Okay, from FG Fit. Why is Frankie Gibson so handsome and hung? Well, I don't think he is. So, yep, that is Frankie that was on our previous video that we've just filmed. But yeah, sorry, son, you're not. But also from Frankie, a proper question. Hardest fight that you have been in would be my round with Josh Reed, which we're probably going to do a video recapping. It did get Cage Warriors best fight, best round in Cage Warriors history. So, yeah, that also goes on to his next question, which was your favourite fight. I would say it probably was that one because of just the crowd, the atmosphere, just everything about it was spectacular.
Where was that fight?
That was at the London O2 Indigo. From Christian JQ, how does your OCD affect your performance at times? So the OCD, I think, sometimes works in my favour during my training camps. You know, I can make sure that even though it's painful mentally, I'm training my hardest and I'm doing everything that I need to do to win because I'm so obsessed with it. Sometimes the OCD can then cause the anxiety, which doesn't help in my fights. You know, I don't think that fight week is a place that you want to be really anxious in an OCD way. Obviously there's nerves, but the people that have OCD and anxiety will know that there's a difference between being nervous, which is healthy sometimes, you know, to be obsessively thinking. So yeah, with me, it's a bit of a, you know, a mind game. Sometimes it can help, sometimes it can, you know, throw spanners in the works. Next question from HA, I'm assuming it's Harrison, HA Risson. Big fan of the channel, and Nathaniel, you are my favourite fighter. Is Kelvin Qatar next for you? So thank you, my man, I appreciate that. And nothing's been arranged yet, no opponent just yet. I'm waiting for my daughter to be born, but that is a fight that I would love. You know, it would make sense. He's on obviously a few losses now, so it would be my way into the rankings, if you like.
When are you hoping to fight next?
So my daughter's due date is in 2 months. If I'm honest, I think my wife's going to come early because she is a lot bigger this time, you know, bump wise. She's struggling a lot more. She feels like she's almost ready to pop now. So I think she might come early. So we're going to get her here because I personally don't think I could fight very well knowing my wife's heavily pregnant. At any moment, you know, our baby could come. So yeah, family first. That's it for today, guys. We've run out of time. So if you would like your questions answered next time, make sure to put the questions in on Instagram. And we do have a Fight Front Instagram now. So we will put the link there so you can go through and ask any questions related to mixed martial arts or anything else fight related that you want answered here on YouTube. Until next time, guys, peace out.